Welcome, welcome, welcome to AI Powered Caregiving, a podcast where we're sharing real stories, hard decisions, quiet and loud moments that define the caregiving experience today. I'm Ashanya Anthapoor, your host from Zemplee, where we're using AI-powered remote monitoring to transform homes to help caregivers stay one step ahead and help older adults stay in their homes longer. We turn everyday data into earlier insights, stronger connections, and more dignified aging. Today, on this podcast, we're diving into how the choices we make about our homes, staying put, selling, or even rethinking our space can impact our finances, our independence, and how connected we feel as we're aging. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, who is a senior home coach and a realtor based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. With over 18 years of experience helping older adults and their families plan for the next chapter of their lives, our guest today has helped people navigate housing transitions, aging in place, and even how to have creative financial strategies for later in life. She's the founder of her own brand, Relax, I Got This, where she coaches seniors through everything from planning home sales to income-generating house hacking tips. Robin, our guest, also hosts the Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 podcast, where she blends her know-how with intentional living advice on all things on life after 60. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
We're really happy to have you too. I think this is going to be a very interesting conversation just because you're such an innovator in your space.
Well, thank you. I love talking about it. I can talk about this stuff all day long, so you may have to cut me off occasionally.
I'll just say, bless your heart.
That's funny. That's funny.
Let's dive right in. My first question is, so you describe yourself as both a realtor and a senior home coach. For a lot of us, it's our first time hearing that term. Can you explain a little bit about what is a senior home coach and how is it different from traditional real estate agent?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because it is very, very different. A senior home coach is a person, and it's a relatively new term, right? It was it's basically an organization that was started by a woman in Wichita, Kansas, who has been focusing on working with seniors for the past almost 7-8 years now, right? And her name is Catherine Ambrose. And we are a group of individuals, real estate agents, occupational therapists. We've got some senior placement people, just people in that industry that have basically answered a call to serve seniors at a much higher level. Okay, so that's kind of the crux of what a senior home coach is. From the real estate perspective, it's not just, let me sell your house, you're a senior, let's get you moved into assisted living and let me sell your house for you. That's not what it is at all. We want people to be in their homes as long as they choose to be there and can be there safely. And as a senior home coach, we have the resources and we know the people that can help them do that. Or if they don't want to stay in this big house because it's 4,500 square feet and all the bedrooms are upstairs and it's too much house for them and they don't want that anymore, we can help guide them to their next home. Is it a single story, single family? Is it a condo? Is it independent living? But helping to coach them along that way and what are the best ways for them to make whatever those changes and adjustments might be for them.
So you mentioned that as a senior home coach, it's not your purpose, role, or goal to get people moved out of their house and into assisted living, right?
And that's one of the things when they hear I'm a realtor, right? I've been doing that since 2008. And they believe that I am the last thing they need, right? Oh, you're a realtor. I'm not ready to sell the house. You're the last thing I need. When in fact, I am probably the first thing they need. I am the first, because again, we can talk about, is your house functional for you as you age. I mean, none of us are getting any younger, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe your house is great for you now, but what's it going to be in 5 years, 10 years? So let's look at that and make that plan and do what we need to do now so that if it is your choice to stay in that home, then that's what we do, but we need to make sure that that home is safe for you.
Yeah, that it's a choice they've thought about. It's not like their
Yes.
default, and they've thought about maybe the modifications that need to go in to keep them in their current home. In your experience, is it the fact that most people need to start thinking about these things earlier than they do?
Well, because we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about if something bad happens. We don't want to talk about, we don't want to lose our independence and our autonomy. Kids don't want to talk about it. They don't want mom selling the house they grew up in. Mom doesn't want to sell the house because she promised the kids that they would always have the family house. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
family dynamics and emotions and all these things that go into it. And so nobody wants to talk about it. And then what happens, and I've seen this on more than one occasion, something tragic happens. Somebody
You mean like
falls.
like a fall?
A fall can change everything. Now, and everybody falls. I fall, you fall, we trip over things. But at 75 or 80, it's much more traumatic to the body than it is at 60, 50, 40, 30. It's just more traumatic, and it can change the whole course of the rest of your life. So if we talk about it and we plan ahead and we put things in place so that you can make choices while you can still make the choice and things aren't done in urgency.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about like there's in terms of caregiving, there's two pathways. There's the creep where it slowly sets on you that you're becoming a caregiver, and then or there's a crisis where one thing happens, maybe it's a fall, and all of a sudden you need a new home or you need to completely switch up your living situation.
Yeah.
And I think the goal of what we're doing at Zemplee, it sounds like with what you're doing, and what everyone in aging services is to really make sure that these crises happen less, or when they do that, we're a little bit more prepared. It's not out of the blue.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, because things are going to happen, right? And we can't predict the future. You can't predict that you're going to trip over that rug. Well, if you've got a throw rug, you can probably predict somebody's going to trip over it. But you can trip over your shoelaces, right? But we can't predict if somebody's going to get sick. We can't predict if you're going to have a stroke. We can't predict if you're going to fall down or you're going to slip on the sidewalk those things cannot be predicted, right? They just could happen. However, if we can anticipate that these things might happen and get rid of the throw rugs in the house and get rid of the tub and make it a walk-in shower and, put some grab bars. If we can anticipate that these things might happen, then that makes it safer for you in the home in the long run so that trip over the throw rug doesn't happen. And
Right.
now everybody's in crisis.
I think you mentioned grab bars. Like that's probably one of the first things someone thinks about when they're thinking like, how do I adjust my home for when I'm getting older? Are there any other cool things you've seen or that you look for in houses for older adults beyond grab bars?
So if you're looking in someone's home or their current home, or maybe they do want to move into something, it's still a single family, not assisted living, any of those. They just want to move down to a 1-story home, for example. I always recommend new construction for those if they can in the area because they're newer, less maintenance, and they tend to have more suitable
Mm,
layouts, right? They're more open. They've got smooth thresholds. The transitions between one room and another are smooth so that if somebody needed a walker in the future or something, it's less likely to be a trip hazard. They tend to have walk-in showers in the primary bathrooms. They tend not to have steps going up to the front door or out to the garage, so there's some of those things in some of those homes that are now being built that way. Doorways are wider for, again, a walker or something like that,
Yeah, or a wheelchair, I'm
or a
assuming.
wheelchair if that becomes necessary. So, that's if somebody is moving into that kind of a situation, that's always a recommendation, because then they don't have to make those modifications. Now, if they're going to stay in their own home, then it may be, certain things that we need to look at. Do we need to widen some doorways? Or do we need to just have somebody come in and smooth out those transitions? Those are such a trip hazard. Those little strips of wood that go between the living room and the bedroom
Mm.
that really don't need to be there. And so now you can have a smooth threshold. So it just makes it safer for the long term.
Yeah, I'm always so curious about that. Do you think architects are thinking, or house designers, house builders are even thinking about some of these aspects about how to make the house really inhabitable over the long term?
I don't think they're thinking about it as much as they need to. I don't think they're thinking about it as much as they need to. I think, the statistic is by 2035, so 10 years from now, 9 years from now, there will be more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18 for the first time in American recorded history.
Yeah,
That is it's
I think
huge.
it's the world. The world
It
might
may be the
be.
world. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a high number. We're living longer, and people are waiting longer to have children, if having children at all. So, and now we're living 10 or 20 years longer than we used to. So now people are needing housing longer than they needed to. And the cost of senior living has gotten very, very high, and it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And their money is in their house.
Mm.
So it's a whole conversation about that. And when you ask about architects and builders and those sorts of things, I think they're starting to realize that they need to be building more single family homes, more kind of patio homes in some in some of their developments, so that grandma and grandpa can come live next to the kids where the grandkids are, and they can be safe and still be nearby.
Totally. Yeah. Do you think so I know in California where I'm filming from, where I've been living the past few years, there was a lot of back and forth over the concept of like ADUs and having ADUs in the back of the property and things like that. What's your opinion on ADUs? Are they a good solution to um getting older and still wanting to live in a house? Maybe you get an ADU for your aging parents and they can live there, or you can live there.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's great because it keeps people close. It keeps, and it depends on the relationship, right? It depends on the people and the individuals. So, because there's no one solution for every single, situation out there. However, if it is a viable solution, I think it's great. I think it's great. And the problem with that is now a lot of people live in HOAs and other types of neighborhoods, and sometimes that's against the rules. So again,
Mm,
it comes back to not just builders, but what about HOA policies and things like that, that as we go into this new, you know, way of living for everybody, we may have to start rethinking how we thought things were the right way to do things.
truly, truly. And do you think the HOA policy comes from, is it an aesthetic thing, or is it more like they don't want overpopulation in that neighborhood?
I think it's a little bit of a lot of things. I think a lot of it is aesthetic because they want the one tree in the front yard and the fence to look like this and that. Although most ADUs are in the backyard and you couldn't see them anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of them fear people are going to Airbnb something like that, that it's not just, for grandma and grandpa to live back there.
Right.
right?
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
so there, I think there's some concern over, because they are getting, the whole Airbnb thing has gotten very um, regulated, I guess, or
Yeah.
forbidden in some cities and things like that. So I think there's a lot to it. However, I also think some rethinking needs to be done on some of these policies.
I would agree. I think policy, the builders, like we talked about, everything's got to catch up to the sort of the incoming influx of older adults. I mean, it's already happening. We're already seeing it happen, right? And it's just going to escalate over the next few years.
It is. It's here. It's here. So we can't talk about, when it comes, because it's here.
It's
So
here.
we
The
are playing
silver
catch
wave.
up.
Yeah, the silver wave. What about tiny homes? Have you ever thought about, like, do you ever know much about the tiny home trend?
I don't know a ton about it. One of the things, typically those, I think size wise, they're great. If you're talking about for older adults, unfortunately, most of them have stairs going up, right? They're mostly a 2-story and they'll have steps up the front and things like that, because they've got to go up on wheels or they've got to be mobile, right? And so I think sometimes that may not work. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this, and I can't think of what it's called. I think it's called like the bird's nest. It's in South Texas or Southwest Texas, and these women created this. It's like the Golden Girls, but it's all women, and they have tiny homes, and it's for older women that don't have somebody to kind of, they watch out for each other. Is
I
basically
love
what they do. They keep an eye on each other. It's a community, and I think it's brilliant.
I agree. I think that's the ideal aging situation for me, right? Me and your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And women live longer than men too. So
Yeah,
it's going to happen that
yeah.
there'll be just a bunch of older women living, and why not band together and take care of each other and
Yeah, they
have a
take care of
laugh or
each
two?
other. They, keep an eye out for each other. And it's just because the other thing about seniors is often they get isolated. And isolation is one of the leading causes of illness and dementias in our senior population because they're just not interacting with people. And so that isolation is very detrimental to their overall health and well-being, physical and mental, emotional.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we think a lot about too at Zemplee. Mental health just can really like exacerbate any of the chronic conditions you're already facing. And a lot of people will be losing their spouses, right? And so you kind of have to go from relying on your spouse who you've gotten so close to, ideally, after a couple years, after 30 years, and start to open up back to friends and things like that.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think
tough.
it is tough. But these living communities, like the one you mentioned, Bird's Nest, which I'm going to look up after this. But I know, like, I've read some things about international people, people in China, like doing something similar and having a great result and experience because of that.
Yeah. Well, and you even see where in some countries where college students get free room and board and they live in the senior living communities and they just have to volunteer a few hours a week, you know, socializing with the residents that live there or play, they play music for them. There's some music students that they come and they play music for them. And so everybody gets the benefit of that, right? The seniors get that attention and that interaction from a younger generation,
Yeah,
and that younger generation gets the experience of these older adults. And I think that is brilliant.
I do love that idea. That's a great
Isn't that a great
idea.
idea? I think it's great.
um, have you ever had the experience where someone wants to just move into their own home, like they want to stay alone? And have you ever had to sort of coach them out of that and be like, listen, it's good to have some social interaction and is
With
there a
my
way you
own
can be close to?
mother.
Yeah.
My own
Yeah.
mother, she became very isolated. She will always say, "Well, I've never been much of a joiner." Not much of a joiner. And so she retired and she was by herself a lot. I mean, my sister and I would go visit her and go to her apartment. Um, but she never spoke to anybody else but us. She
Wow.
never
Yeah.
saw anybody else, especially after after the pandemic, because we made sure she stayed home during that because she was in her 80s. I didn't want her
Yeah.
out running around. And, so she became very isolated.
Mm,
And and like you said before, there's things that creep, right? Where things just kind of, and so if you see it all the time, you don't see, if you're in it, you don't necessarily see it,
right.
right? And then there's a catastrophe or something, what was so slowly coming that you didn't see it happens, and it feels like it happened right then. And it's really been coming up for a while. And when we had to move my mom because of a lot of medical, some mobility issues, and we had to move her into a care home, you could just tell the difference in her just because there were other people walking around,
Okay.
right? There were other people in the house. There were people coming in, just the caregivers, bringing her lunch and talking to her and those sorts of things. You could see a difference just in her well-being and all of that, because she was getting that, even that limited kind of
Yeah.
interaction made a difference.
Just a couple things here and there every day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's they talk about vibes, right? Like you just need the vibes of other people around, and
Well, we're humans.
you
That's what
you and
we
your
are. We're
dog.
humans and we're pack animals.
And like the children can only do so much, right? Like you also have your own lives, and it becomes tough.
Well, you've got work, you've got your own kids, you've got your own things, and it's very and with that comes all the guilt of not being able to be there every day, every
Yes.
minute. There's as a caregiver, and there's different levels of caregiving too, right? There's the people that move mom in and take care of her 24 hours a day in their home. There are caregiving where, like my mom, she's in a residential care home about 30 minutes from my house. There's people that are in assisted living. There's people that have in-home care come in. So
Right.
there's all sorts of levels. And again, just like I was talking about the ADUs, everything is different for everybody and everybody's situation and financial situation and capabilities and all of this. So there's no room for anybody to feel guilty. Just
Love that.
everybody do the best you can.
I love that. I agree. I think the guilt can set in, and obviously, like as women, as caregivers, as mothers, we have a lot of the guilt and always feel like we need to be doing more. But there is really, I think, the intention and the compassion behind it is really the key here. It doesn't matter how much you're doing. If you can just do a little bit a day or a little bit a week, that's really appreciated by anybody, even if they're not always saying
Yeah.
so.
Well, and
Did
even
you?
like for me with my mom, it's I'm managing, I have a sister. My sister's involved as well. I don't want to make it sound like it's just me sitting here. We laugh. I call my sister the CFO of mom. She handles the financial stuff and I'm operations.
Nice, nice.
I handle, where's she going? Is this and doctors and these appointment, whatever that looks like. So I'm operations. My sister is the CFO, and between the two of us, mom's taken care
That's awesome. And she's the company.
Yeah,
She's
you know what? She is that's the focus. That's the company.
That's
CFO and
amazing.
operations of mom.
Did you have to think about did what to do with your mom's house when you had to move her out and everything?
Well, she was in an apartment, so in that situation, but at the same time, my mother, she had a 2-bedroom apartment. She'd been there for well over 10 years. She'd been in her place before 20. I mean, and so my mother had stuff,
Yeah,
right? That
oh
was
yeah.
unnecessary. No, she had
Yeah,
an
what do you
ice chest.
do?
Oh my God, we gave away so much stuff. And I tried to sell some of it. and then that's hard. And she just had so much stuff, and we donated so much. And this is a 2-bedroom apartment. So now there are people that have been living in the same house for 40 years. And you want to talk about, and I'm not talking about a hoarder house. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about people that have 40 or 50 years worth of possessions.
Yeah.
Whether it's clothes or knickknacks or the drawings that their kid made in kindergarten.
Like they have a VCR player, they have a DVD player.
Yeah.
All the old technology.
Or all the kids' stuff is still up in their bedroom. Their cheerleading trophies are still up there. And they need to come get those, by the way.
Yeah.
If your stuff is still in your mom's house and you are over the age of 30, go get it. Go get it. Get it out of your mom's house. It's not free storage.
It's no longer sentimental at that point.
If you want it, if it's sentimental to you, go get it and put it in your house.
Yeah. So you had to figure that out. So I'm sure as a senior coach, do you kind of help people with like, okay, this is where you can give away all these stuff, and like this is what
and so there's a lot of different ways to do this, right? And that's some of what I do. So I have a webinar that I do every month. It's just a free webinar. I call it the Gentle Transition, and it's to help yourself, because you want to be gentle with yourself, or it's helping your aging loved ones, maybe your parents or grandparents or somebody like that, help them getting to start letting go of the things. Right? Just getting rid of, so that they can, because even if they're going to stay in the same house, that stuff needs to get out of there for safety.
Yeah.
They're reaching up to grab dishes off the top, in the top cabinet. They're trying to get things off the top of the refrigerator. This stuff can fall there, and it can fall on them, or they're getting step ladders to reach things. And that's going to change. It's just not safe. And so it's the webinar is just about an hour long, that just kind of talks about the emotions and how to handle getting rid of this, this thing, this, I had somebody on the webinar. He has been retired from teaching for 30 years, and he still has his teaching paraphernalia. And after the webinar, and I mentioned teachers, and he said, "Robin, I've been retired for 30 years, and I'm going to go get rid of that stuff."
Wow.
Because we hang on to things.
We
just do. And
your
generation may not hang on to them as much as like my generation and my mom's generation, but I think your generation's probably a little less in that tendency, but it's out there.
I don't know, Robin. I mean, we do have these like Shein and all these places where it's so easy to buy things now.
That's true.
All our Labubu's and things like that.
And I'm at the point now, like I told a friend of mine this morning, I said, I don't know that I want to don't buy me gifts. Let's go have experiences. Let's go to lunch. Let's go to dinner. Let's go for a walk. Don't bring me things, because I don't want anything else in my house. Yeah. I love you, and I love the thought behind it. But actually, your aging parents and your grandparents really just want to spend time with you. They don't need another thing.
They
just want some time with you.
That is a really great point. Like when you mentioned the experiences, I kind of thought like, isn't that just the perfect thing you could offer your aging parent, your aging grandparent? Just let's go, have a walk.
Can I take you to the Arboretum? Can I take you to the art museum? Can I take you to a movie? Can I take you to brunch? Can I take you to the park? Can I spend time with you? They would love that far more than that knick-knack that you're buying. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really great advice. Oh my goodness. You talked about on your website and in your webinars and in your podcast, you kind of talk about this idea of house hacking. Do you want to explain a little bit about what that is? What are some creative strategies for older homeowners?
Well, there's a lot of different things, right? So you talked about ADUs, right? So what if you put that in the back and you moved into it and then rented your house? right? You don't need 4,500 square feet or 2,500 two-story house and all of that, but somebody does. So
I
what
see.
if you moved into the small ADU that you built that's maybe, I've got a friend that built one for her father-in-law, his father, and he lived to be like close to 100. And it's a two-bedroom, kitchen, bath. I mean, the whole thing is back there. It's probably about 900 square feet. And so he lived there for a lot of years. So what if you moved into something like that and now you rent your house,
I see. Okay, so that's a great
right?
strategy, right?
That's a
Yeah,
great
because
strategy.
you also don't want to live in a
Yeah.
two-story house as you're getting older, I would imagine. Just going up and down all the time would just get.
I am 62 years old and I don't go upstairs in my house very often. There's nothing up there really that I need. My bedroom's
Everything's,
downstairs, but
yeah.
imagine, I mean, I had another friend who was I think she's in her early 80s, but she had this house she's had for a long time. It had a lot of stuff in it. Bedrooms and bathrooms were upstairs, both of them. She didn't have a
Oh,
shower downstairs and she didn't have a bedroom downstairs. And her back was so bad, she couldn't get up the stairs.
no.
And
So how did
that's
she?
very dangerous, right? So her kids and finally convinced her, let's move over to independent living. And she wanted, and parents want their kids to have the house. And sometimes that's a good idea. And sometimes it's not a good idea. It really depends on the situation, right? That house, is that going to can that help you afford your independent living, your assisted living? Or what does
Mm,
that look like? Right. So every situation is going to be different. But, as far as that goes, like I said, you're talking about house hacking. So the ADU and living in kind of just swapping that.
yeah.
Um, there's financial things that you can do, reverse mortgages, which used to have a terrible, terrible reputation because they weren't regulated very well a number of years ago. And now they are very regulated. It's a government loan. You have to go through a lot of stuff so that because people were preying on seniors in the
Oh,
past. And so there's a big negative connotation about it. But now it's so highly regulated. It's an FHA loan, just like a forward loan. But it allows a senior to not have a house payment or a mortgage payment. And you can use a reverse on the house you own, or you can
okay.
buy a house with a reverse mortgage.
So if you
Right? So
need to
now you
move into a
sell
new
this
place.
house. So now you sell the big house and you go buy the smaller house and you do it with reverse mortgage. So now you're not spending all of your money that you got from the first house to buy, like I just want to pay cash. Well, now you've taken $300,000 of your $500,000 and now you only have 200. What if you were
Hmm.
able to do a reverse mortgage? Now you don't have a house payment and you've still got $500,000.
Ah, I see.
Okay.
So,
And so and you're still on title. People think I want to leave the house to my kids, all that. It's just like a regular loan. At what point, the point in time that you are no longer living in the home, whether you pass away or you move to assisted living or you just decide to go rent a condo or whatever, that you're no longer living there, then that's when the loan comes due. You can sell the house. Your kids could buy the house, or you can walk away. If you pass away and that house is not, and it's a non recourse loan. So if for some reason you owe more than the house is worth, you don't pay the difference when you sell the house and you can
great.
just
Yeah.
walk away. So there's a lot of things that are out there that people don't understand, and just asking the right questions and understanding things so that you can see all your options. A lot of people feel like they don't have options.
Yeah. Do you have any resources that have either been helpful for you in your journey with your aging parents or just in your personal journey that you can recommend? I know obviously we have your website and we want people to reach out to you since you're probably the best resource. Are there any like books or websites that you've come across that are also really good for people, older adults trying to find a home or home
Books
strategies?
especially. My podcast has had a lot of authors on it, and I have a just a little thing I call Robin's favorites and recommendations, and I always put those books on there. So now you're gonna make me come up with the titles. The Longevity Blueprint is one, and it's a friend of mine. Her name is Dr. Karina Loyo, and it's called The Longevity Blueprint, and it is basically a textbook on everything you need to do to plan for your aging years. I mean, everything, everything. And it's great. And she's writing a follow-up book right now. Um, let's see, Decluttering at the Speed of Life by Dana K. White.
Yes,
How
I
to
heard of that
get
one
rid
too.
of the stuff. And that's not just for seniors. That's for everybody that knows that they're that they've got too much stuff, and it needs, you don't need a bigger house, you just need less stuff. So that's a good one. Dr. Keith Ludwig, he used to be a what do you call him, not a secret agent but a special agent. He wasn't a secret agent, but he was a special agent and dealing with cyber crimes with the FBI. And he retired and became a private investigator, and people started coming to him about their loved ones getting scammed out of money. The
Mm.
senior ripoff scams that were stealing money from our seniors. And he wrote a book that's on that list as well. Like, I think it's called Don't Scam Me. So, so many resources, so many different, and I'll make sure you guys have that so people can have the link to that as well, so that they can get that list.
Yeah, we will include a list of the recommendations, Robin's recommendations in our show notes. That's perfect. That's
Great.
that's great. That's amazing. Okay, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing or anything about aging in this country, what would it be and why?
I think it would be conversations, talk about it, make plans, understand that none of us are getting out of here alive, right? None of us, right? It's just a matter of when and how are you going to age, right? What is that going to look like for you? And having conversations with your kids, with your partners, with your spouses, with trusted friends, with
Mm.
and if you feel like you don't have anybody, then get an elder attorney. But make sure that your wishes are known. Because here's like the worst scenario, and I heard it from my friend. Her name is Sam Craddock, and she owns a very large home health company. You can find her on YouTube. She's brilliant. She's funny. She's a gerontologist and talks about aging and all of these things. And just imagine if you fell, or you had dementia, or you had a stroke and you couldn't communicate anymore, right? So now I can't tell you things, and you're bringing me oatmeal every day, and I hate oatmeal, but you don't know that, and I can't tell you that, and now you just think I'm being difficult because I'm not eating the oatmeal, but I hate oatmeal.
Yeah. So
Right?
much lost, like so much
It's so
lost in the
much.
translation.
Yeah, and we don't know. And so that's why I say plan. Make sure everybody knows what your wishes are. And a plan can change. That's the other thing. Just
Hmm.
because you say, I want it this way today, doesn't mean you can't change the plan 5, 10 years from now.
I think that's the key too, right? Like aging is such a, well, it obviously looks different for everybody, but there are so many stages. Like we even talked with someone recently and they were saying like, I'm young old, there's young old and there's old old. And there's gonna be a huge difference. It's not like when you plan for something, okay, I'm 75, this is what I want. It's going to be totally different by the time you're even 80 or 85 or 90. And that timeline obviously is different based on all your conditions and how you're aging. But I do love this idea that the plan can change. Everybody should be on board. The kids, the sandwich generation people, and the older adults. They all need to be on board with this sort of concept of change. But what do you have any what if people would come to you and say, this is awkward, like I have never practiced being so forthright with my kids before or advocating for what I need. It's really a learned skill to be able to say, okay, this is what I need. I need help with XYZ. And um, it's something I didn't need help with before. Do you have any advice for people who
Well,
are
there's
feeling
two
awkward
things.
about it?
There are people out there that we don't even know exist. There are people in jobs and in professions that we don't even know exists, and they do a lot of this. A senior home coach is one, right? So we have resources to help you put this stuff together that are vetted, right? So that you don't get ripped off. So somebody doesn't, treat you poorly or treat your parents
Mm,
poorly. There are I think they're called case managers. Anna Lee Kruger is probably one of the greatest ones out there, quite frankly. And she was on my show, and her book is on my list. And people will come to her first to try and she can talk, because not all families get along all the time, right?
right.
And not all parts of the family live in the same place and have, so there's a lot of that goes on. And so she can help mediate, right? And they come to her early, but then they don't want to spend the money to make the whole plan. And then mom gets dementia, and now we don't know what to do, and we're in chaos and we're in crisis mode. So there are people like Anna Lee Kruger out there that can help you manage long-term planning. Obviously, there's estate attorneys and financial planners that help. But the hard part sometimes is just, how do I talk to my mom about how I think she's not safe in her home anymore?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
how do I tell my kids, I don't want to live here anymore? And I told you I'd live here till I died, but I really want something easier to take care of that I can go travel. You don't have to be old and decrepit and ready to, you know, go into skilled nursing and then on to, you could just be 75 years old and tired of taking care of this house. And I want to go to Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to go on a
Or
cruise.
I want to get an RV. I want to
I want
see
to get
some
an RV.
things.
I want to go live the rest of my life. And then kids don't necessarily. So it's
May
it's
not
tough.
even
It's
know.
tough to have those conversations, but I would say have them early. Have them right now. You know, if you're 40, start having conversations with your parents. If you're
Why not?
60, 70, start having conversations with your kids
Yeah.
because it
That's
happens
great advice.
faster than you think.
I know. I think 10 years goes by in the blink of an eye sometimes.
It does.
And
My
when you're
mother
so,
used to say the older you get, the faster the years go. And I never understood what that meant until I got over 50. And then you just start going, they do go fast. Where did this time go?
my gosh. And I think the goal is like you want to enjoy as much of that time
Yes.
that we have on this planet as possible. Why not, suck it up a little bit and have the awkward conversation just to clear the air, make sure your needs are known, and then kind of listen. I think listening is another key thing too, right? Like
Yes.
you got to listen to your kids and what hopefully they're advising you in the right way, and listen to your grandkids. And so it goes both ways. You got to talk, but you got
It
to listen.
does. You got to talk and you've got to listen. And, but ultimately, I think whoever you are, you obviously you want your choices, right? I don't care
Mm,
who you are. If you don't like oatmeal, you don't want to eat oatmeal. And if you don't want to go live there, but you'd rather live there when the time comes, you need to let people know so that if you are unable to say, I don't want to live there, you can say that so they don't think it's nice. And now you're living there and you can't communicate that you don't want to live there.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it all comes down to communication. This whole thing is all about communication and being upfront and forthright with everybody.
Mm. And as a senior home coach, and you said your role is kind of one to help with this communication, help with the planning and things like that, right?
And just see where my role is in their planning, right? I am not an attorney. I am not a physician. I am not a psychologist. I am an experienced person is what I am. And I have certain expertise, and the things that I don't have expertise in, I'm going to refer you to somebody that does, and it will be somebody that I trust. Right? Which is better than opening up the yellow pages. Yellow pages, listen to me date myself. It's it's different than just Googling somebody and taking the first one that comes up, right? Because
Right.
that's how bad things happen. And so you want references and referrals from people that you know and trust,
Yes.
that has used that vendor. And it could be a roofer. I mean, it doesn't have to be an estate attorney. It could be a roofer that doesn't take your money and leave the hole in your roof.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So,
All
yeah.
these kind of like house related things. Well,
Mm-hmm.
even though I am not an older adult just yet,
You will be.
yeah, I would love to work with you, Robin. I feel like I just want you in my life, like
Well, thank you.
personality wise.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So you want to call and talk to me anytime, I'm here.
Amazing. And just one more time for our listeners, where are you based out of again?
So I am in the DFW area. So I office in Dallas, and I live in the suburbs with my husband and my 2 dogs. And I've been in Dallas since 2001. I was actually born here. So moved around a lot as a kid, came back. They say you can take Texas out of the girl, or the girl out of Texas, but you can't take Texas out of the girl. So here I am. And again, I've got my podcast called Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. There is so much valuable information there just because of the people I have on my show are amazing. And I'm so grateful that they would be willing to spend their time with me. And then my website, relaxigotthis.com. You can find me on all the socials. I'm everywhere.
That's amazing. I'm really excited for the podcast. I want to check out your Relax, I Got This.
It's
Love the
really good.
name of the brand. I feel comfortable in your safe hands.
Good. That's what it's intended to. I can handle a lot of things. I can't handle everything because again, I'm not some things. And yet
Yeah.
I want you to feel comfortable that I can at the very least point you in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah. You are a holder of resources.
I am a holder of resources.
Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us on our podcast. We've had a great time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and I'm excited to learn even more about your company and what Zemplee does. I've just been introduced to you guys recently, and I'm excited to learn more about you guys. I think it's
Yeah,
amazing what you're doing.
we'll have to continue the conversation because there was just too much I didn't get to ask you, but
Anytime.
thank you, Robin.
Thank you.